GMRT is through this giant meter-wave radio telescope. It operates between 150 megahertz to 1.5 gigahertz. Where is it? Near Pune. It's 80 kilometers away from Pune. And at present, it is the largest radio telescope in the world, which you can use at these frequencies. And it will still remain the largest radio telescope for at least some time, 10 years. Photons are not going free streaming, so it's not transparent. Here it is transparent. So as we look backwards in time, we look backwards, we look towards this era, and Z increases this way. Here matter and radiation they are colliding with each other. Here radiation is not colliding with anything. So the optical depth here is almost 0. Here the optical depth is large. Right? So now, once I have observed that the optical depth here is 0, and also I have observed that there is a background radiation, I can throw away the steady state theory. Okay? So that is the first thing that we saw yesterday. Then we talked about the representative volume of the universe. And we said that we will consider modes within this volume. And we said that we can take L arbitrarily large such that this is satisfied always. Then for radiation, we derived how the temperature will change as a function of Z, and that came out to be so this is for radiation, and if the similar thing happens with matter, which is relativistic, this is non-relativistic. For non-relativistic matter, this will be 1 plus Z whole square. Finally, we derived the number density for photons, which came out to be very good number. I actually don't need that non-relativistic thing today, so I will remove it. Then we did not derive it, but we said that the same way we derived this, we can derive number density of Kelvin also, where there will be a factor of 3 by 4. And all these are done with G equals to 2. Degeneracy for the photons, 2 polarization 2, for these 2 spins 2. Okay? So that is what that's where we ended yesterday. So today we'll start calculating the energy densities. Start with calculating the energy density. So what will be the energy density of photon? Let me write down here also the occupation number. This is 1 by CPD HCK minus U by what is the energy density? It will can do the same way we were doing yesterday. But since it's energy density, I have to multiply it by energy, which is H K, and then for photon. So what is the special thing about photon? For photon mu is 0 and this is minus. And this should be, if you calculate it, this will of course come out to be this. Because we know this is the Stephen's law, right? Okay. Basically there will be a dependence on T, which is T to the 4. If you remember, we have 4 Ks today. We had 3 Ks yesterday, so we had a T to the cube dependence there, which gave us this Z cube, 1 plus Z whole cube dependence. But today we have 4 Ks, so it will be T to the 4. And if you calculate whatever the constants come with it, that's what I have called AB. And if you calculate that, put the values of the constant, and I put it in this units. So this is the density or mass density. So this will be why did I put it in terms of mass density? No, why did I put it in terms of mass density? Because, so finally I will compare things with my cosmology, right? The cosmology I have been doing. There you had A dot square by S square equals G rho. That rho was mass density, right? So one side, so this is my rho basically. And this varies as T to the 4, so T04, 1 plus Z whole to the 4. This already we have seen, right? Rho varies as A to the minus 4. Same thing you see from here. That is just coming because of this relation. So now I can calculate my omega because I know rho. So I calculate rho 0, which is just take away that factor, T0. T0 you know 2.73 to 75 Kelvin. So this is rho critical is 3h0 square. Now I forgot to mention, which I should have, is that H0 is usually given in this unit. It's right H 100 okay. What? MPC inverse. Yeah, sorry. Because these two will cancel out, this will have a unit of 1 by time. And when you inverse this, you will get the unit of, age of the universe. Now, this H for the present day has a value of 0.7. I don't bother about whether it's 0.68 plus minus something. This is good enough for me. This is 0.7. So it's order of unity. Fine, so we put in all these numbers. Now we can put in all these numbers. We know this is given here. We have to just put in the value of T0. We know G is 6.67 10 to the minus 11 in SI units. H0 you can convert it to SI unit and put in there. What you will get is This is order, if this is order unity, this is just 1. If this is like 0.7, you will get a factor of half from there, but let's not bother about that. Basically what you see here is omega of the radiation at present is 2.5 times 10 to the minus 5. I put it here. So, do you remember what was the omega for matter and omega for lambda? It's 0.3 and 0.7. One of them is order of 0.1, one of them is order unity. So this is very, very small compared to that. So for present day, the energy density is negligibly small. So whatever calculation you want to do at present redshift, you really don't need to bother about the energy density. This is the first thing. Okay. So I will write down this formula for the U. Here, U gamma is some AB. So if you again do the similar calculation for the fermions, relativistic fermions, can you see this bottom part of the board? Up to this you can see, right? So U fermion relativistic is 7 by 8 times U gamma. Okay. So it's again similar calculation. So I don't need to do it again. I have not done the other one also. R was for this is also relativistic, right? Good. Now let us ask the following question. So this is the present matter density, right? But Z, so this thing omega gamma naught, if I don't put the naught, that varies as function of 1 plus z whole to the power 4. So if I go to sufficiently high z, which is sufficiently higher fast, at some point this will be very large. We saw in the first day that also, at some point that also there will be the universe will become radiation dominated at some z, right? At some high redshift. And this is here. So this is radiation dominated, it will be here somewhere. And there, photons are not doing free streaming, it's in collision with the other particles, right? So you have, like we discussed, you can have electron to photon collision, like Compton scattering, and that will give you rise to, that is what makes the photons thermalize. So let us ask the question, when that happens, does the photon energy changes? Does the temperature of the photon change? Let us ask that question. If that happens, if it changes, then you have to recalculate everything for the photon at the radiation dominated universe. To do that, we can formulate the question this in a different way. You can say now, instead of only photons, I also have the baryons, right? So the total heat, total energy is distributed between photons and baryons. So if I calculate the heat capacity of the photons and the heat capacity of the baryons, and they are comparable, so the energy is distributed then comparably between photons and baryons. In that case, the temperature will be different at the radiation dominated universe. But on the other hand, if this come out to be very, very large compared to the baryon heat capacity, then whatever the baryon is doing at that era, at that epoch, will not change the photon temperature by much. So you can forget about that effect, right? So let us try to calculate then the heat capacities. That's why last time we said that we will calculate the heat capacities. So heat capacity, and again we are dealing with that volume. So we are talking about heat capacity in constant volume. So I am not write V explicitly. I am just talking about heat capacity in constant volume. And I am talking about heat capacity at constant volume, which means, okay, fine, which means that this is defined by del U del T. And what is this? You know what is U as a function of T? Should be somewhere here. So what is this? Right? So heat capacity changes as a function of 1 plus Z whole cube, because you have a T cube over there. Now, for the baryons, let us assume for the time being that the universe is made up of only hydrogen. Baryons which is a very good approximation, because I don't know whether I will go to Big Bang nucleosynthesis, but you will see because of that at that epoch 3/4 of the 3/4 is hydrogen, mostly hydrogen. 2/3, whatever, it's mostly hydrogen. So once we know that, we know heat capacity of constant volume for a gas like hydrogen, and I'm writing baryon, is given by 3/2 NkT. And then, 3/2 NkT is the total internal energy, which is U. And then once you differentiate it with T, this just becomes 3/2 Nk, right? Now N, I can calculate for the baryons, assuming all of it to be hydrogen. How do I do that? Because I know the baryon, so if I know the omega baryon at present, if I multiply it with the critical density, that gives me the density of baryon at present and mass density of baryon, and that's where now the hydrogen equals to baryon assumption comes in. To get to the number density, now I can divide it by the mass of hydrogen, right? And I've not written 0 over here because I know how this thing will evolve. This will evolve, right? A to the minus 3, which is 1 plus Z cube. Right? Baryons are normal matters, which is like dust, which has a 1 plus Z cube evolution, or A to the minus 3 evolution. Now, okay, so let us first write these two down here. So C gamma is this B is for baryon, this B is for Boltzmann. So how much is this? This is a very small number again. Yeah. Okay. So first, we said that we're comparing this. We'll compare this. Let's do that. So first thing that you see is both of them has 1 plus. So this is 1 plus z, right? 1 plus z whole cube. So both of them has 1 plus z whole cube dependence, right? So this ratio is fixed in time, fixed with z. So this is a constant in z. And what is the value of that constant? What is this ratio? This ratio is, again, remember this small number. And now I don't remember whether I have written down the right value here. This 4AB you have. Okay. So the value I have in my note is this, which is 4 into 10 to the minus 9 omega baryon h square centimeter minus 3. Okay. So this is the number density at present for the baryons. Is 4 into 10 to the minus 9 omega baryon h naught square 10 to the minus centimeter to the minus 3. Let me just go and check this again once more because I want to be. Yeah, I'm sorry. This number is 1.124. This is 10 to the minus 5. Sorry for that. Anyway, so this number is, you can calculate this number. This will come out to be this. Then you have to put in the value of omega baryon naught, which is of the order of 10 to the minus 2. And h square is of order unity. So this value is 10 to the minus 7. Around 10 to the minus 7. When you calculate this quantity, then this comes out to be the value of this. So this comes out to be this. I think you have should have. This is omega baryon. Okay. Sorry for the mishap, but if I calculate the baryon numbers compared to the baryon heat capacity compared to the photon heat capacity, it comes out to be this small. It basically means that the heat in the baryon is negligibly small. So as you can see, this number doesn't change with time, right? So this value is 10 to the minus 2 means this value is 10 to the minus 11. So when this recombination occurs, the matter will give some energy to the photons over here, but that much of energy will be only minus 10 to the minus 11 times the energy already in the photon. So it will not change the temperature of the photon by any amount. So whatever we have been doing here for the temperature of the photon, this the argument that the occupation number doesn't change with Z will hold over here also at high redshift. So what does that mean? That means that now I can use P and Z synonymously even at the radiation dominated universe. So T and Z both I can use synonymously at the radiation dominated universe, which means that even at the radiation dominated universe, this thing holds. This thing which we calculated for this transparent universe even holds for the radiation dominated universe. Okay. So you can say Z equals to 1000, we can equivalent to say P equals to something near 1000, 3000. Fine. Fine. Now, so as we said that as you go past, the temperature will be higher, the density will be higher, and here, as you go past again, there will be more different kind of species will be in thermal equilibrium. So what happens is, say there is okay. So let us give concrete examples like the hydrogen atom. So at around 1 electron volt, so it requires around 1 electron volt for the electron to knock off from the hydrogen atom. So that will correspond to some temperature, right? So when that temperature, so universe is evolving. So say this is Big Bang, T equals to 0. Universe is evolving this way. So this way Z is reducing. So there is some Z or some T. T is also reducing, or some T corresponds at which this will happen. So you'll find a higher temperature where say this reaction will happen, that the electron and the positron and the electron can create the can create gamma radiation, and this happens at MEV, right? So that will give you one temperature. And this reaction can happen means that now the electrons and the gammas are in thermal equilibrium, right? Photons and the electrons are in thermal equilibrium. Here it is something else, some two different other species can come to thermal equilibrium. Now there are two things which dictates at which temperature it will happen. One is of course the energy corresponds to that temperature. There is one more thing, which is what is the probability of these collisions. So we have, these are quantum mechanical processes, but this temperature may be very high, but the probability of that process occurring may be very small. Okay, so in that case, you have to wait for even larger, higher temperature. So whether this will happen exactly at 1 MeV will be dictated by the cross section of the process also. Okay. Now we said yesterday that there is this funny kind of particles called neutrinos, which have so tiny mass compared to all other species that at some approximation we can consider the neutrino mass to be 0, but they are fermions. So neutrinos, which is nu, or antineutrinos, they are particles with mass almost 0, but they are fermions. So which means they are relativistic. And so this will be obeyed by them. Because they are relativistic, so I can use this expression, and they are fermions, so I have to use C4 10 gamma or this expression for them. Right? And then, since they are relativistic, they can have a fate as similar as photons. So they may come out of thermal equilibrium at some point. Okay, so the other important thing which I was carrying over from here is that they have very small reaction cross section. The probability of two neutrinos scattering with anything is very small. Okay, that's how detecting neutrino is also very difficult. So once that is the case, if you remember, that is also the case for photon. Two photons doesn't interact amongst themselves, right? So if that is the case, then this can also have a background radiation. So we can think of one. So I'll give you the radiation, the equation. So let's say electron plus one type of neutrino goes to positron plus another type of neutrino and antineutrino. And this reaction makes electron and neutrino in thermal equilibrium. But then when the temperature is such that this reaction cannot happen anymore, then neutrino can do free streaming, just like photon. So it can also have a background temperature. So you can have a cosmic neutrino background, just like the CMBR, cosmic microwave background. Okay, so we'll try to see that. Now to see that, we have to find something which does not depend on the species, etc., which does not evolve with Z also. And that's some.
Why is the cross-section rate for cross-section area for
neutrino is very small, so that will come only from if you do quantum mechanical calculation.
So just because of that, or
I don't remember. So quantum mechanics, you can. So basically, the way you do it, say electrons and photons. So what kind of reaction happens? Compton scattering is one, where you have one photon going, and then one. So this is called a tree-level diagram in quantum mechanics or quantum physics. Now you can have several other things like funny things. So now this is the theory for quantum electrodynamics, electron. Now for neutrino you have to do weak interaction. Right? So you have to write down what are the possible diagrams for the weak interaction, and you have to calculate the cross section. So that will tell you. Now I don't remember what exactly. So that this cross sections have basically a coupling terms between of this interaction, for example, which is what is the coupling term for this interaction? This is basically this. The fine structure. So there will be another term for the weak interaction. Now, what exactly makes the neutrino cross section small? I don't remember. Usually, what happens is this initial order diagrams disappear for the things which has very less cross section. Only the higher order contributes, which are already very small. So the first order has 1 by 137. Second order will have 1 by 137 square. So that will have a very small square. Okay, so we have to calculate temperature. No, we don't need to calculate temperature. We have already calculated it. We'll calculate entropy per photon. So yesterday we said that the expansion of the universe has a time scale which is very large compared to all the other time scales that we are dealing here, which means that expansion of the universe does not change the processes which are involved here, like the collisions, etc. Which, what will that guarantee you is that the process that the thermal history you are talking about, it has a, it is what is called, it has d cross q equals 0, which is called what? Iso-adiabatic. And then your entropy also is constant, right? Adiabatic processes entropy is constant. So that's a nice property that we will use now. So let us try to calculate the entropy. So entropy ds or gamma photon is nothing but du gamma by d. Right? We are considering a unit volume, which so du plus p dv, dv is 0. So this is this. So if you put in the expression for u gamma over there, if you put in the u gamma, then you can calculate S, and this S will be 4 by 3 AB equal to 4. What is S? Is S entropy or entropy per unit volume? And S is entropy per unit volume, right? Because my U was per unit volume. So let me write this down somewhere here. I'm sorry. Yeah, because you can even dimensionally see it's 1 by t over there. Now, if I want to calculate entropy per unit photon, what should I do? So this is entropy per unit volume. If I divide it by number per unit volume, then it will be entropy per unit photon, right? So this is nothing but S gamma by n gamma, and again you can see S has a t cube dependence and gamma also has t cube dependence. Z cube 1 plus Z cube is same as t cube. That's what the capacity told us. So this is a constant. This constant is 3.6. And this, so what have we used to calculate this constant 3.6? Just the expansion of the universe and black body radiation, right? That occupation number density for photon. And if you even not consider the expansion of the universe is not there because it has already cancelled out. So this is just a property of the black body radiation. So entropy per unit photon for black body radiation is always 3.6. Okay, so did we, so I'll write down one more thing here. It's already getting very crowded. So let me remove universe from there. This we have already written down, so I'll just, I need those numbers. So this is the number density of baryon. This is the number density of photon. Both are again as same 1 plus z cube dependence. So the number density of photon to number density of baryon does not change with time again. And what will be the, so if I now define a quantity called eta, which is baryons over n gamma, what will be this value? This value is very small, again, this 2.7, 10 to the minus 8 omega b square. So, and this does not change with time, right? So what does this tell you? So what does this tell you? So how many baryons are there compared to, how many baryons are there at now per unit volume? This has a centimeter minus 3. 10 to the minus 7 baryons per unit volume. If you think of us, all of us are made up of baryon, right? So here in this room there are 10 to the 23 baryons per cubic centimeter. So directly see there is a very high density, over density region where in the universe where you live in. This is 10 to the 30 times over dense than the mean baryon density of the universe. And this has started to tell you about the linear theory of perturbation, where if you remember you had rho equals to rho 0 1 plus delta. This delta is now 10 to the 30. So it's no more a linear theory. At present, you cannot use the linear theory. Okay. So let me again keep these things here. S, this is what we have seen already, 4 by 3 AB EQD EQ. And how will it be different for the fermion? So this U du by T, right? The only thing which is different for the fermion is U, which has a 7 by 8 factor. So this also have a 7 by 8 factor. And these all results are for the relativistic cases, because these are all for relativistic cases, right? So these are the result which you need for the neutrinos. Fine. Now let's see what happens to the neutrinos. If you remember, all these results were also considering mu equals to 0, right? We have used chemical potential equals to 0 in the occupation number for all these results, right? So just keep that in mind. You see why. So let us consider a temperature. So again, universe is evolving like this. Z is going up like that. A is going down like that. E is going, as you go like this, E goes up. So this is a certain temperature which is greater than 10 to the 10 Kelvin. So here you have, and we are talking about only the, so if you look at the standard model of particle physics, you have this neutrons, sorry, you have the electrons, neutrino, and photons, and then you have protons, neutrons, then quarks, gluons, etc. So, if you go very high in temperature, even high in temperature, things other than the electrons, neutrino, and photons will be important. So here only these three things are important: electrons, neutrinos, and photons. Okay, because these are not in other species at this temperature. So what are the reactions happens? So this is your pair creation or pair annihilation reaction. Actually, I cannot see because of the reflection of the light. And this can also produce photons. Okay. Now, let us look at the chemical potential for these different species. First of all, we know chemical potential for photon is 0. Neither created, it almost doesn't interact.
So there are 3 species of neutrinos, so which one?
Okay, so we are right now for the entire discussion we will talk about only
Electron.
these 3 things. This is electron.
In the second reaction,
Yeah.
the center of mass energy of the left-hand side is smaller than the right-hand side because electron and proton have mass, but we assume neutrinos will be massless in this mechanism. So how can the forward reaction occur?
Kinetic energy.
No, okay. First of all, neutrinos has mass, right?
But
And
it's
this-
said to be massless.
Because you need to you observe to have some mass. You have observed that neutrino has some mass, right? You know, oscillation of things
Yeah.
like that. The standard model cannot deal with the neutrinos for the time being, actually. So that is something which is still left over in the standard model, even after Higgs. So neutrinos are still massive for us. I mean, for us, the mass is very small such that it's negligible, but it is still massive. It has some. Negligible
This
is
is
small,
the
but
mass
massive.
circulation is nothing here. This is just kinetic energy of
Yeah, that's true.
neutrinos.
No, that is true. That is
Would be greater than
that is true. That is right. Otherwise, you can ask the same question here also.
yeah.
No, sir, first and vice versa.
Those are called pair creation and pair. Those are called pair creations.
Gamma can produce one single gamma can produce one electron proton pair, but not two gamma.
Yeah, fine. I mean, one single gamma can produce, so that single gamma will have the same energy of 2 gammas. Fine. Fine. So we are talking about the chemical potentials and the chemical potential for the photons. We know that's 0. And when a reaction is occurring, when you have thermal equilibrium, then for the reactions, the chemical potentials in the left hand side adds up to the chemical potential in the right hand side. So write as against this. Right? And remember the chemical potential, so chemical potential comes in statistical mechanics when you only consider the grand canonical ensembles where the number of particles changes. If there is no change in the number of particles, it's almost 0. So for the neutrinos, it is a very good assumption to take them as 0. Now if I use that here, I get chemical potential of the positron as negative of the chemical potential of the electrons. Right? So now let us ask the question, if there are, so if I now see, say more electrons, so this is an era we are talking about when this reaction is occurring, right? So then there will be, if I go to a temperature, okay, let us, this is at T greater than 10 to the 10 K. Say T less than 10 to the 10 K. This reaction can no more occur. So all the electrons and positrons will annihilate to produce gamma. So you only have gamma, mu, and mu bar. Gamma is photon. And plus very small number of electrons. You need still very small number of electrons because they are still in thermal equilibrium with gamma, and you need to have some reaction like Compton scattering to occur between the electrons and the photons, such that photon comes into thermal equilibrium. So this is at 10, this is at T less than 10 to the 10 K. So I said very small number of electrons.
Sir, I have a doubt because this third reaction mu zero and negative that cannot happen because you don't interact electromagnetically.
How much? So you can ask the question that. So you said very small number of electrons. How small can this number be? So what can be the largest number of electrons which is left over after pair ionization? And that you can calculate from here. So that cannot be larger than the number of baryons left over, right? Today. And these baryons are of course non-relativistic. This is very small. This is 10 to the minus 5. 10 to the minus 7 actually, if you consider this omega B0 factor compared to whatever the photon number density. So this ratio, as already see, is very small. So then I can neglect whatever the small number of electrons left. Like this assumption of this taking to be 0 looks like a very good one. So once that is the case, for all the species that I have there, I have the chemical potential equals to 0, and I can directly use these things. These are, I assume, using chemical potential equals to 0. Good. So now again we will. Let's first see what else happens. So this is one time in the universe when you have positrons, electrons, neutrinos, antineutrinos, and photons. Okay. Now as T falls, T goes to around 10 to the 10K. As I said that there will be when some reaction occurs also depends on the cross section of the reaction. So this neutrinos now, that reaction that you are talking about, those reactions cannot occur anymore. So the neutrinos fall out of the equilibrium. So these can now free stream. And once they free streams, and at that point, if they are, if the temperature is so large that you can neglect the mass, which is the relativistic limit basically, then they will follow this occupation numbers with the plus sign.
The neutrinos might have been released before the photons reached. So they should reveal the thermal history before the.
There has to get released get released. Yes, because we still have these things in the thermal equilibrium. And photon will get released lot later because those leftover electrons will make the photon in thermal equilibrium for even longer time. Okay, so this has got free stream, and for its temperature, whatever the temperature of neutrino today will be, whatever the temperature of the neutrino at that time into 1 plus Z. Right? Then what happens is at t less than 10 to the 10k some point. So this is t less than like 1 MeV. The pair creation or pair annihilation no more occur now. So most of the electrons has annihilated. So they are no more there. This is there. Now, these electrons had some mass and they have got annihilated. So that energy has to go somewhere. That energy goes to the photons. Right? So remember, when you are doing thermal history, up to this point, everything, all these species are, here all the species are in thermal equilibrium. Here, when this happens, when it has got decoupled with that temperature. But now, here also your gamma has the same temperature, but when this happens, your photon has got some extra energy from this annihilation process. So its temperature may change, the temperature may increase. So what we'll see is, so this again we know after some time when it got decoupled, so it will behave like this, but this and this can be different now. So try to see if we can calculate that. Okay, so let's use this part of the board.
Here we observe the redshift in visible light electromagnetic spectrum, but are neutrinos possible?
For neutrinos, first of all, neutrinos are difficult to observe. We'll come to that. So what this means is, what you observe is this. You don't observe this. This is something you have got from the theory, doing all these things, right? What you observe is this. Once I put in this, then I can get the neutrino pressure at different Z. The question is whether this can be observed. So I have to find that spectrum, like the blackbody spectrum. Neutrino will also have a spectrum, right? What do you mean by a spectrum? You have, for different energies, you have different number of neutrinos. Neutrinos with a given given energy will have some number of neutrinos with that. So that will give you the spectrum. And if that comes out to be like blackbody, then this is what you will see. That temperature of the blackbody is same.
One question is that we can observe the Z, this redshift.
You are not observing any evolution of temperature with Z when you are observing the background radiation. It's called cosmic microwave background radiation. It comes in microwave, 3 Kelvin. It's present value of the radiation. Z equals to 0. Okay, so let's start here. So we'll calculate the entropy here and the entropy here. Entropy for the neutrinos in both the cases and try to match the temperatures. Okay, that's why we calculated the entropy. We actually calculated the entropy per unit volume. Let's say for the photons here. Let me write it here. So this is the neutrino sector, this is the photon sector. So I have to multiply it by some volume because this is the calculated, what I calculated is the entropy per unit volume. This is 4/3. So I have one photon plus two fermions. Each of them has entropy of 7 by 8. Okay. But now, okay, so this is here. Let's do the same thing here. Here I have S, but now V has changed to V prime because the volume will change. It expands. So up to this point, everything is in same temperature, which is T. But here, this has T gamma, and this has T neutron.
सर टी टू पावर 4 रहेगा टी टू पावर 3 है
Thank you. Let's do the same thing for the neutrinos. And no, so there are two species, right? So 2 into 7 by 8 is 7 by 8. Okay. For the neutrinos, it is 4/3 AB 7 by 8 times 2 times T cube neutrino. And of course, as I said, it pre-streams from there to V. There is a V prime. After that, the neutrino temperature doesn't change. It will be 4/3 AB 7 by 8 2 Q. Fine. So I will remove this picture because this we have already. Now I can divide the this. So I can divide this by this, that will be equals to this by this, right? And if you do that, this factor is 11 by 4. So this by this equals to this by this. And this is nothing but the same T as here because they are in thermal equilibrium. So I get 11 by 4. Right? So the neutrino temperature is 4 by 11 to be 1/3 T gamma. And both of them varies as 1 plus Z. So I can write down now T0 neutrino will be 4 by 11 1/3 T0 gamma. What is T0 gamma? And this comes out to be 1.95. If you remember, to calculate this, we had put in the value of T0 gamma. We had put in the value of 3 Kelvin here, right? calculate this had a TQ factor which came out because I had k square dk factor in the integral. So there is a TQ factor here. So now instead of gamma, if I calculate the number density of the neutrinos, I will have to put this value 1.95 and it will come out to be 5 minutes. No, I say can I take half an hour class? No. Okay, fine. So this basically discusses the thermal history of the universe. The only thing left to do is you can now calculate the omega of radiation, omega of neutrino, because so we calculated the omega for radiation, right? So since I know this number now, I can also calculate the omega for neutrino. Okay. So that I give you as an exercise, that you will see that that will change the omega radiation or the omega. So we had these things, right? We had omega radiation, we had omega lambda, we had omega matter. Neutrino will change this by a little bit. It will not change it very much. Fine. So we'll leave it here. If you have questions, you can ask over the